Thanks for tuning in to the Unaffiliated Creators Podcast. I'm your host, kaeveryday. It's your boy, K. Hey, we in February, so I just want to go ahead and say Happy Black History Month, I guess, It is Black History Month. Even though it's the shortest month out of all the other months. Hey, man, happy Black History Month. It's going to sound like I'm doing a lot of rambling today because I'm kind of freestyling. I didn't want this moment to get past me, so I just kind of wanted to talk about it today on the podcast. I've been talking about Jay-Z a lot. I know y'all probably thinking I'm obsessed with this guy, but again, for those who've been following the podcast, y'all know how I feel about Jay-Z. I feel that he's in my top 5 rappers of all time. I actually feel that he's the GOAT. Some people would debate, if it's Tupac, Biggie, Nas, but I feel that Jay-Z is the GOAT when it comes to rappers. But that being said, I just kind of wanted to ask y'all today, how did y'all feel about Jay-Z's Grammy speech? So he won an award at the Grammys, so they gave him an opportunity to go on stage. And when he went on stage, he gave a speech. For those who have been living under a rock, I'm actually going to play it for y'all because I want y'all to hear it. And then after I play it, I'm going to let y'all know what I think. And then I kind of want to know what y'all think. So please, in the comments, y'all let me know what y'all think of a Jay-Z speech. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Hold on.
Thank you very much. I usually say this is a sippy cup for Blue. But Blue's grown up now. She doesn't take sippy cups. And she has her own Grammys. First of all, thanks to Dr. Dre. He said he in the house. He's somewhere. Oh, there he is. Andre Young, thank you, sir. For all the doors that you opened, showed us that we can be rock stars, seeing you on the Rolling Stone. Obviously, there's Run DMC with the Leathers and the Aerosmith. But when you came out west, you took it to a whole new level, put us on covers, Rolling Stone, put us around the world. You and Snoop, all that y'all did, all the records y'all broke. So thank you for this. Honored to accept it. Honored to accept it. And thank you to the Black Music Collective for all the work that you guys do, scholarships for young creatives, and hopefully, I'm adding to, what you guys are doing out here. Obviously, it's great to have an award for such an icon. How far we've come with Will Smith and them, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince winning their first Grammy in '89 and boycotting because it wasn't televised. And then they went to like a hotel and watched the Grammys. I didn't even understand what wasn't a great boycott. But then, '98, I took a page out of their book. I was nominated for the Best Rap Album, and DMX had dropped 2 albums that year. They both were #1. Shout out to DMX. And he wasn't nominated at all. So I boycotted, and I watched the Grammys. I'm just saying, we want y'all to get it right. We love y'all. We love y'all, we love y'all. We want y'all to get it right, at least get it close to right. And obviously it's subjective. Y'all don't gotta clap at everything. Obviously it's subjective because, it's music and it's opinion based. But, some things, I don't wanna embarrass this young lady, but she has more Grammys than everyone and never won Album of the Year. So even by your own metrics, that doesn't work. Think about that. The most Grammys, never won Album of the Year. That doesn't work.
Just be taking shots.
Some of you gonna go home tonight and feel like you've been robbed. Some of you may get robbed. Some of you don't belong in the category. No, that was it. No, when I get nervous, I tell the truth. But outside of that, we got to keep showing up. And forget the Grammys for a second, just in life. As my daughter sits and stares at me nervous as I am. Just in life, you got to keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Forget the Grammys. You got to keep showing up until they give you all those accolades you feel you deserve. Until they call you chairman. Until they call you a genius. Until they call you the greatest of all time. You feel me?
So you heard what Jay-Z had to say. So I'm kind of conflicted with this speech. I mean, overall, I think he did a good job, I guess. As a married man, you always want to have your wife's back. And I mean, a lot of this is kind of assumptions because we're not in that household. We're not knowing the conversations that him and Beyonce having on a day-to-day basis. But obviously, for him to say this, she must be bothered or she must have an issue with the fact that she's won, like Jay-Z said, I had to look it up, but she's won the most Grammys. I think she's won over 30-some Grammys, and she's never won, album of the year. So obviously she must have an issue with it for him to get on that stage and take that moment to say something about it. So I do applaud him, and I appreciate the fact that he had her back. I mean, I would think that most wives would want their husbands to have their back. But in having her back, a lot of people took it like he was slighting other people, or in particular, I think a lot of people felt that he was talking about Taylor Swift. Now, I don't really know if he was talking about Taylor Swift. One, he didn't really say nobody's name, so you kind of got to guess if that's who he was talking about. One part of his speech that I didn't really understand when he was saying that some people don't deserve to be in the category. If he was talking about Taylor Swift, then obviously, I mean, she's one of the biggest artists in the world right now. So she's always going to deserve to be in the category as having the album of the year. So that's the part where I kind of really didn't understand. If he was taking a shot at her, how can he say that she didn't belong in the category? Maybe that's just his personal opinion. Now I can understand when you start breaking down the different, genres of music. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. Like Taylor Swift, right now, I guess you would consider her like a pop artist, or at some point, she was doing country music. It wouldn't make sense to put her in like the R&B category, but this was just the overall album of the year. So that's all of the different types of music being put in one pot. So again, if he was taking a shot at her, it kind of didn't make sense. But there was another thing I thought about in this whole thing when he was giving his speech. So Taylor Swift now has won Album of the Year 4 times, which that's a record. So now she's had the most Album of the Year Grammy wins with 4. So I guess the record was 3 until now she just broke it with 4. So that made me think. And I know this is subjective, it's a lot of opinions. And you don't ever know the people that's in the room that's voting for these things. You don't know if it's an agenda, if they really feel that Taylor Swift is the best artist they've ever seen, or if it's some other things going on. But if you just think about it from a common sense standpoint, a lot of people feel that Michael Jackson is probably one of the best artists that we've ever seen. He's considered the king of pop, and he's been given that name for a reason. I mean, the man was amazing when it comes to singing and, dancing and just being an overall entertainer. So if Taylor Swift now has the record, that means that Michael Jackson never won Album of the Year 4 times. I looked it up because I didn't know right offhand. So Michael Jackson put out 10 studio albums. So you telling me out of 10 albums, Michael Jackson was considered the king, or is considered the king of pop, that he only won at least 3 Album of the Year? Now, I know he won a lot of, Grammy Awards for a lot of other things, but when we're just specifically talking about Album of the Year, you telling me that this man didn't win 4. So Taylor Swift now owns the record. But this is another part of Jay-Z's speech that I'm not going to say it don't make sense, but you can't necessarily equate one thing with the other. So he made it a point to say that, Beyonce has won the most Grammys. And that's a true statement. But just because you win the most Grammys, you can't necessarily equate that to that should have equaled that she should have won, Album of the Year. Now, if you go back, and I didn't go back and do it, I mean, it'll take a little while, but if you go back and look at all the years where she had an album and you look at the other albums that came out that year, I'm pretty sure there's probably some years where you would probably question, like, you telling me that she didn't win over this person? But I'm pretty sure there probably were some years that if you looked at her album and you looked at the other albums that were going against her, you could at least say, I can kind of see why they, picked this person over Beyonce. I mean, it is a crazy stat that you win over 30-something Grammys and you never won Album of the Year one time. I guess that's the point that he was trying to make. But I just don't think the two things you can't just automatically just say because, hey, you won so many Grammys that you should have won, several Album of the Years. And I don't know if you ever will really be able to compare Beyonce and Taylor Swift fairly if that's the conversation that we're having. Because again, in Jay-Z's speech, he was very smart to not put somebody's name on it. So you have to assume that he's talking about Taylor Swift, but he left it open. He could have been talking about anybody. But they're different in this sense. And there's the obvious difference. Taylor Swift is white, Beyonce's black. So they're kind of going to reach a different demographic, right? Taylor Swift is younger than Beyonce is now at this point. I would say that Taylor Swift is at the height of her career, or it seems that she's at the height of her career. I mean, she could get bigger, but I mean, she's a billionaire, almost a billionaire at this point. So she's at the height of her career, the peak of her career. Beyonce is still Beyonce, but I wouldn't say that she's at the height of her career. And they're in different places in life. Beyonce's older. She's married. She has kids. She's doing other things now. Taylor Swift is younger. She's not married. I was about to say she's single. I mean, her, she in a relationship with Travis Kelce right now, so you can't technically say she's single, but she's not married. So she just reaches a whole nother demographic of people. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Like, if I just kind of wish, for this comparison, that it was a little bit closer as far as, if they were both white, if they were both around the same age, if they were both kind of in the same place in their career as far as like maybe at the peak of their career and stuff like that, I think it would be an easier comparison. But the fact that there's a lot of things at play that are so different, I think it's going to be very hard to really have a true comparison between Beyonce and Taylor Swift. But but at this point, I don't even really understand why they really care. I mean, Jay-Z's a billionaire. Beyonce's close to a billionaire. She ain't a billionaire. I mean, them together, they got plenty of money. And even Drake, he's, voiced his thoughts about the Grammys, and he be telling people that, you shouldn't be all caught up in if you won an award or not. You know what I'm saying? If the people love you and they like your music or whatever, that should be good enough. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you never win a Grammy Award or you're not winning all these different awards, but you got a good fan base, a loyal fan base, and you making the kind of money that you want to make, I mean, do it really matter? Like, does the Grammy really solidify you as an artist, or can you be considered to be one of the best artists and you ain't never won a Grammy? And then there's a lot of other award shows besides the Grammys. So, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to see what y'all thought. Again, I tilt my hat to Jay-Z for having his wife's back. I mean, like I said, I'm married, and that's the thing that my wife feels very strongly about. She always wants to feel that I have her back. And if there's ever a moment where something happens and she feels that I don't have her back, one, she's going to let me know, and she's not going to be too happy about it. And, we going to be, it's going to be some contention going on in the household for a while until the dust settles. And then, I can win her back over and she feels like I have her back. So again, I can kind of understand why Jay-Z felt the need to maybe say something. Maybe that might have not been the best place to do it, or people might have felt that wasn't the time to do it. They probably didn't like the fact, again, that he felt that he was slighting somebody else, that person we don't know. But I would almost say that this is kind of similar to the Chris Rock, Will Smith thing. I mean, yeah, he didn't go up there and slap somebody, but it was the same situation. Will Smith was put in a situation where he felt that he needed to have his wife's back, and him having his wife's back was, man, I'm about to go up here and slap this dude. So it's similar but different. It didn't lead to violence. Jay-Z took a different approach. He kind of like, sprinkled in some truth, but then he kind of, was doing some things that kind of made the crowd laugh, to kind of take the edge off a little bit. I mean, he didn't go for Kanye when Kanye, went on stage years ago, and basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically he was saying, hey, Taylor Swift won the album of the year, but we all know it really should have went to Beyonce. And I mean, he just like rushed up on stage in the middle of her acceptance speech and did all that. So that was kind of crazy. So this was, I guess, Jay-Z's way to kind of do it a little bit more tactful. But some people probably still feel that it was the wrong place or the wrong time to do it. But to him, he probably felt, what better time? I actually got an award. I'm on stage. I'm at the Grammys, so we just gonna go ahead and we just gonna air it out now. So, hey man, if this is what that man had to do to have peace in his house, then you can't put a price tag on peace. So again, I tip my hat. But again, I want y'all to let me know what y'all think. Was he right in what he did? Should he have not said anything at all? Or would you have rather him actually put a name on who he was talking about, so we wouldn't have to sit here and be guessing who he was talking about? But that's all I got today. Again, leave it in the comments what y'all think. Y'all be good and stay safe.